Lovely. I'm just going to make a start. People will probably filter in anyway. But thank you for joining. So today we're going to talk about everything to do with social SEO, how the social platforms are basically bringing out new tools and new features to support social SEO. And it's one thing that I've spoken about quite a lot because if you go on platforms such as TikTok, Instagram now, a lot of it is keyword focused. I do discuss hashtags in here as well, but a lot of it is keyword focused and around how you optimize your content for social media. But we're going to delve a little bit more into what social SEO is and how it also complements traditional SEO as well. So if anyone here works in traditional SEO, you might see some similarities between social only SEO, but also how it can help with your traditional website SEO efforts as well. So just a quick one. If you have any questions as we go through, feel free to leave them in the chat box or the Q&A box as well, and I will answer them all at the end. And this webinar is being recorded as well, and then it will be published. So if there is anything that you might have missed that I've said or something that you want to look back on, then I will be recording this webinar. And hello to everyone that's watching it back. You are watching the recording. Okay, so I'm just going to go through today's agenda. So today we're going to talk about what social SEO is, social SEO planning, so how to plan for your social SEO strategy, how to use social SEO, and a lot of this is around how you implement it into your social content or your social strategy, measuring the impact of social SEO. So a big part of that is around, okay, so we've put our social SEO into place. How do we then measure the impact of it? And how do we measure the performance? And then, like I said, at the end, I will do a little Q&A. And if you've got any questions, I will answer them in that Q&A at the end. So I'm not going to go I'm not going to go through this in too much detail, but this is just a little bit about me. So my name's Becca, if anyone doesn't know me. I have over 6 years of experience in digital marketing now, which is crazy because until a few weeks ago, I was still saying 5 years, and then I realized it was actually 6. So I've worked with clients in both B2B and B2C industries. So a lot of what I cover in all of my webinars are very B2C and B2B focused. So you can use a lot of it in both parts of marketing, really. And I created Silly Goose Digital as an extension of your existing marketing team. So in October, I basically went freelance. I'd come from an agency background, and then I decided to go freelance, which is what I'm doing now with Silly Goose. Okay, so now that we've done our introductions, I'm just going to go on to what social SEO is. So social SEO, basically by definition, and this one is taken from HubSpot, is the practice of adding text-based features like captions, alt text, and closed captions to your post to help people browsing social media platforms easily find your content. So if anyone here works in traditional SEO, or if anyone has an understanding of traditional SEO, you'll know that a lot of that is based around optimizing your website for keywords that you're wanting to target or you're wanting to rank for on Google organic search or any other search engine such as Bing as well. And a lot of that, like I've just said, is around keywords. It's around alt texting your images on your site. There is a lot of technical SEO. That's another whole other conversation. But if you think of social SEO, it is basically like traditional SEO, just on the flip side without that technical side. So how is social SEO used? So when we talk about SEO, we talk about it in two parts. So it directly impacts social media performance. So this is social SEO around optimizing your content that you post out on social media. So a lot of that is used to increase visibility within the social platforms, to drive a greater reach, awareness, and engagement. Like I touched on at the start, a lot of platforms now are bringing out new features to kind of help with that keyword discovery. And we will go into them a little bit more more in detail later on. But a lot of them, such as TikTok's Creator Search Insights, their Creator Center, Instagram now showing keywords on the search bar, which I know has been around for quite a while now. But all of those little platform features are used to help drive that social SEO performance. And a lot of people also might call it Instagram SEO or TikTok SEO, depending on the platform. But social SEO, like I've touched on, is also used to support website SEO. So it can be used to support website SEO indirectly. And I will get on to a little bit later on about what Google have said, because, for instance, I think it was towards the end of last year, Google had started to show follower counts in their organic search results. And there was a lot of questions around, does that impact our organic website SEO performance if we have more followers on social? Spoiler, it doesn't, but I will move on to that a little bit later on. But as you might know, if you engage more on social media, it amplifies that overall reach, which can then help with that traditional SEO. But we will touch on that a little bit later anyway. So social SEO versus traditional SEO, and just looking at some of the difference between the two. So social SEO is centered around optimizing your social media platforms to be seen within the social media searches themselves. However, like I said, it can support traditional SEO through engagement and brand visibility as well, which, as we might know, social is really, really good for helping with that brand awareness and that engagement side of things as well. And then traditional SEO is designed to show up on search engines and rank higher on SERPs. So when I mention SERPs, which I do mention a couple of times within this webinar, SERPs is basically the search engine results pages. So that they are the results that you see within Google or Bing or whatever search engine that you're using. So say if you typed in red shoes into Google, when we talk about SERPs, it is the listings that are shown on there. And it's used to drive more web traffic and ultimately conversions. So when we talk about social SEO, it is also worth looking at both of them and seeing the difference between both of them as well. So I've just put it down into a little table here, which just helps break down the differences between social SEO and traditional SEO. So really everything is pretty much the same. Social SEO, when I say shown on SERPs, it means that if you were to type in a keyword on Instagram, such as, I'm going to use the red shoes example again, red shoes, there is the possibility that your post will be shown on there. Obviously, it is due to a lot of differentiating factors, such as algorithms and all of that good stuff. But that is why they are quite similar in that respect. Obviously, it's different results pages. So your social SEO SERPs is within the platform, whereas traditional SEO is within your like Google or Bing search engines, etc. But there is a little bit of a similarity there. And both of them also use keywords, which helps with ranking. Use hashtags. Traditional SEO, as we all know, doesn't tend to use hashtags. But social SEO, when we talk about social SEO, hashtags do also come in that conversation as well. Although platforms such as LinkedIn have come out and recently said that a lot of their ranking is based on keywords and how relevant the content is to that keyword, rather than stuffing it with hashtags, which a few years ago, us social media managers used to try and use as many hashtags as we could do, because hashtags were massive when I first started, but it has changed a lot over the years. Alt text tagging as well. So if anyone doesn't know what alt text tagging is, basically it helps screen readers be able to understand what the picture is about, really. So it is great for accessibility. And when a lot of people talk about SEO, they do miss out that key point, is that accessibility is so important, because you want your customers or your audience to be able to see what your image that you're posting is. And alt text tagging does help with that, and it helps with the screen readers, but it does also have an impact from a SEO perspective as well, because if you're tagging it with relevant keywords and the keyword there is relevant, make sure not to stuff keyword stuff in your alt text, because it makes it so much harder for those who need it for accessibility to understand what it's about. But where relevant, you can add those keywords in, and it does help both social SEO platforms and traditional SEO to understand what that image is. And engagement is a ranking factor. Now, a lot of what I'm going to discuss throughout this webinar is truly based on engagement. A little bit like algorithms, it doesn't matter how much you post that you think is relevant to the algorithm. If it's not relevant to your audience and it's not driving engagement, you're really going to struggle to get that reach. And it is similar with traditional SEO as well. So Google, when they brought in their EEAT guidelines, a lot of that was around engaging content, quality content, and making sure that what you put on the website is being engaged with. And there is obviously that time on page as well, which is a good one. So engagement is key for both social SEO and traditional SEO as well. So this is the one that I touched on at the start, and it's around whether follower count influences traditional SEO. So Google themselves, as you can see in this screenshot, has said that it's not a ranking factor. But it is also worth noting that obviously if people are searching for a certain brand on Google, or they're looking for a brand industry, for instance, and there are a few brands that come up there, and there is the possibility that your follower count will appear in those search engine results pages. But like we've seen here, it is not a ranking factor, and Google themselves have confirmed that. I'm not saying it won't be in the future, but as of right now, it's not. But it does indirectly support traditional SEO. So social signals can help with overall brand engagement and visibility. Social platforms also consistently show up in the search engine results pages. So how many times have you searched for a brand or a certain industry, and you've seen that their Facebook pages come up, their Instagram pages come up, their LinkedIn company pages come up? And they're all examples of how that social SEO can support traditional SEO, but also other social signals as well, such as building that strong presence, engaging with your audience and sharing that valuable content. Some of that might include, say you've just put a blog post on your website and you've optimized it for around keywords for SEO. You might also want to post that via social media as well, to drive people back to your website. And if your audience is engaged and they're relevant and the blog post is relevant, then odds are they're going to sit there and read that blog post, which helps with all of that good stuff with traditional SEO, engagement rates, time on page, all of that good stuff that GA4 now tracks. It is worth noting that GA4 used to track, Google Analytics used to track bounce rate. That's now changed to engagement rate. So it's flipped on the other side. So whenever you're looking at your social stats, you might also want to look at what your time on site is from social media, because that's a good way to gauge how engaged your audience is in a indirect way, if that makes sense. And basically it's an indirect SEO booster because of some of those reasons that I've just discussed. So some of the key areas of social SEO include keywords and optimization. So we're going to move on to how you can look at finding the right keywords and how to optimize your content. If anyone's been on my webinars before, you'll know that I hate the word optimization because it's such a buzzword. So I'm really sorry that I'm using it. But that's the only word I can think of really, is that you are basically optimizing your content in your social media profiles. But we'll go on to that. I think it's in section 2. So searching for those that are relevant to your niche or your industry and what your customers or your audience is searching for as well. Engagement, which as I've mentioned is a pretty big one, and I am discussing it quite a bit in this webinar. But similar to how Google's SEO algorithm works, like I touched on, it's based on quality content, it's based on engaging content. That is exactly the same when we discuss social SEO as well. So engagement can boost your reach on that platform. And I will go through how certain social algorithms work and some of the key signals that they use as well. And influencer marketing and user-generated content can also help with your social SEO as well. Not only does it help drive that brand awareness, but you are getting those brand mentions in there. You're getting more engagement, which will then potentially lead to higher visibility. So now that we've talked about what social SEO is, the difference between social SEO and traditional SEO, and we're just going to move on to the planning stage and how you plan for your social SEO strategy. Strategy is another buzzword that I hate using, but once again, I can't think of any other word for it, so we're just going to roll with it today. So one big part is your platform selection. So if you're optimizing your content for social media, you need to know that your audience is on that platform. There is no point optimizing until you're blue in the face and putting keywords and all of that good stuff, hashtags in there, if your audience is not on that platform. Now, it's very rare for an audience not to be on the platform due to the sheer demographics of every single big platform now. But for instance, one that I can think of, which unfortunately is now being closed, is Lemonade. So there would be no point posting on Lemonade if you're not creator or influencer focused, or there isn't a tradition, or if there isn't a niche for you on there. So it is key to look at where your audience is and where they're engaging as well. And what content your audience wants to see is also a really, really big one. So whatever you do should be driven by customer insight and research. And this is another thing that I talk about a lot, is where you can and where relevant, talk to your customers, because I think it's easy as social media managers or social media marketers or people that work within social media to assume that they know what their audience wants. So look at what content your audience wants to see, talk to them directly where you can, but also look at your analytics and other third-party tools just to see what they're searching for. And I do mention a couple of them in this webinar as well, which you can go away and use, and it will help you. Does your customers prefer to consume video content, for instance? And so a lot of that is around looking at your analytics. Do they prefer video content? Do they prefer carousels? Do they prefer photos? And when I talk about algorithms in the next section as well, it is also really important to remember that ultimately you do what your audience wants to see. There are certain content types that certain platforms will push out, such as Instagram trying to push out reels, for instance, TikTok trying to push out more carousel photo posts. But if you find that they are your least engaging forms of content for your audience, you don't have to use them for the sake of your audience. Everything that you do should be audience first. So now we're just going to move on to social algorithms, but please keep in mind what I've just said about being audience first and customer first. However, these are some of the key social signals that pretty much every algorithm uses. So user engagement is a big one. So the likes, shares, and comments indicate that the users find the content interesting and relevant. So it goes without saying that if your content that you're pushing out there has a good level of engagement, then more than likely it's going to be pushed out into more feeds. It's going to potentially be put on the TikTok For You page or the Instagram Explore feed. And I do go into the specific platform algorithms a little bit later on. But user engagement is a big one. And that's why when I talk about social SEO, engagement goes hand in hand with that. Relevance is also a big one. So keywords and hashtags that give the content context. Gosh, that was a mouthful. And improve its visibility. So there is no better way to teach the platform's algorithm about what you're talking about than putting in those relevant keywords and hashtags in there. But make sure not to keyword stuff it either, because more than likely that's not going to be engaging and it's not quality content. And the algorithms will see that as well, because you'll be getting no engagement. Timing and frequency. So I copied and pasted the wrong thing on here. But timing and frequency is basically algorithms tend to push out content that's newer, or they say they push out content that's newer. Instagram have definitely come out and said that they've done that. And I'll send across a few of the sources as well that I've used for these, both from Instagram's Creator Center and also Sprout Social is another reliable source as well. So I will send these across. They tend to say that they prioritize newer content. However, as a lot of us will know, algorithms and feeds are based on non-chronological order. So just because you've just posted doesn't mean it's going to be posted out in front of everyone, because more than likely it's going to be posted out to feeds where they think your content is relevant, which is where we go back to keyword and hashtag relevance, but also your post might only be seen in 3 days' time, for instance, because of that non-chronological order. User interactions, so that includes the accounts followed, interactions, and click-through rates on link signals, relevance, and content quality. So a little bit like user engagement, just basically the actions that people are taking on that post. If a lot of people are clicking through to that call to action that might go to a blog on your website, then those platforms are going to see that that content is of relevance, it is engaging, and therefore will want to push it out to more people. A lot of people forget that social media platforms are based on engagement. That's why they were brought out there. So whenever we talk about this, make sure engagement's a key one. I hate the fact that I've said engagement so many times as well. I'm so sorry. It's very jarring. And profile authority as well. Whether we like it or not, follow account consistency and engagement can impact that organic reach. By the way, this profile authority is in the mix with all of this other good stuff. So just because you have 10,000 followers doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get pushed out there. You need to have that engagement. You need to have that quality content as well. Because clearly, if you've got 10,000 followers and you're only getting 1 like per post, those platforms are going to see that your content just isn't engaging. Your followers aren't relevant or either not active anymore, and just simply will not push out your content. Some other signals include your location. So a lot of that is also based on, it's not location SEO. I've completely forgotten the words. But basically around your location and your demographics of users when curating content. So for instance, if you are optimizing your social media page and you are a coffee shop in London, more than likely you're going to have to put your location on there. Make sure you've got your address in your page. Make sure your location is in your bio. You might put the first half of the postcode in there. That helps when people are searching, for instance, coffee shops in London, that hopefully yours will be seen on there. Content type as well. So like I've touched on, certain platforms do prefer certain content types, depending on how new the feature is and depending on how they want to push it out. So Reels is a good one, like I've mentioned, Instagram photo carousels as well. So different content types are treated based on user interaction. Many of the platforms do favor videos because they're more engaging, and we are moving into a very, very video first content kind of way of life, really, especially because of TikTok, etc. But that doesn't mean that photo posts aren't relevant either. It's all about what your audience is engaging with the most. Virality, so content gaining popularity. These signals are shared to the algorithm. So you might have started off with a low amount of engagement. How many times have we seen that on TikTok? And then you end up getting more and more and more engagement. And then suddenly it gets pushed out to a pool of more people. And that can really help your reach as well. And watch time is also another good one. So if you're doing video content, for instance, and a lot of this is relevant to Instagram Reels, TikToks, YouTube Shorts as well, which a lot of people sleep on. Don't sleep on YouTube Shorts if you could take away anything from this webinar. So the duration basically that the users spend watching your videos. If someone's watching your video for only 2 seconds, the platforms are going to think, well, you know what, this ain't relevant because people are not watching this video and it's less likely to be pushed out. So try to get those good hooks in there, try to engage that audience in, and boost that watch time up as best as you can. Website SEO, whenever you're planning for your social SEO strategy and you're looking at what keywords to use, I would definitely look at what you're doing from a website SEO perspective. So what keywords are you going for on there? What keywords are you ranking for? Which Google Search Console is great for that. If anyone here has access to your businesses or any of your clients' Google Search Console, have a little look in there and see what people are searching for and what people are searching for to click through to your website, because that you can then look at key trends of what is popular, what people are searching for, and then reflect that in your social SEO strategy. Whenever I talk about social SEO, I also do talk about the fact that people don't just stick to one channel. How many times have we done research on like a local fashion brand, or we've wanted to go to a coffee shop? How many times have we maybe searched them on Google search and then also search for more recommendations on Instagram and TikTok? So this is where it's really important to look at that website SEO and see how you're doing from that perspective, and see if you can reflect any of that in what you're doing on social as well. So like I've touched on, Google Search Console is great for this. So it just shows the top keywords that people are typing in to find you on Google. So it breaks down your clicks. So how many people have like searched Silly Goose Digital, for instance, and then click through to my website, and impressions as well. So how many times are you potentially being shown up on that screen, even if people aren't clicking through to that website? So if you see a keyword that is increased in impressions over the time, it might be one, because you're ranking higher for it via your website traditional SEO, but also it might be two, that people are just looking for it now. It might be a seasonal thing, or it might be a popularity thing as well. So definitely have a little look in Google Search Console. I think it's one of my most favorite tools. I absolutely love it. Answer the Public is also a good one. I'm not the biggest fan of Neil Patel because he does steal a lot of people's content. However, he does now own Answer the Public, and I've been using this for years, and I absolutely love this. So it does now include a TikTok keyword search function as well, which is really, really helpful, because you can put in a search term, use 2 to 3 words if possible, try to keep it very, very low with the keywords that you put in there, and it'll give you a list of related keywords and questions that customers are potentially searching for, both from Google. There's also a Bing tab on there if any of your clients or the business that you work for is B2B focused. You might want to use the Bing tab as well. So yeah, definitely use Answer the Public, because it's a great one to use. It is a free tool. I think you get 3 searches per day, but you can also upgrade to the paid version as well. Sorry, I was just having a drink before I choke on myself. Google Trends is also another good one. I don't know if anyone on here has used Google Trends. I kind of neglect this, and I only remembered it when I was putting together the slides for this presentation. But with Google Trends, you can analyze keywords and how they're trending. So it does give you a interest over time. You can also discover breakout topics, as you can see at the top here. And just look at what people are searching for, really, and how it's, like I said, how it's trending over time. So that's a good way to kind of look at which keywords are potentially up and coming, what topics are up and coming, and it's a great way to see what people are searching for on Google on that day, because you might want to hop on to talking about that topic, for instance. So Google Trends is another good one, and it's another one that's free as well. I did forget to mention Google Search Console is free, but you've just got to link it up with your website. I think I did mine through Google Tag Manager, and I found it easier to do it that way. Google's Keyword Planner is another free one, and this is mainly used if you're doing Google Ads campaigns, but it's also a good way to look at potential keywords that you might want to use in your social content as well. So it does bring up how many searches there are, so the average searches. It does bring up the competition as well, which you probably won't be as relevant for if you're using it for social SEO, but it's another good one just in case you're kind of wanting to put in one keyword and see what other related keywords there are around that, because your customers might be using a different keyword to what you think they might be. So that's another good free tool as well. Another big one is using the social platforms. And like I touched on at the start, the social platforms are constantly bringing out new features to help support with social SEO. And I think my favorite out of all of them is TikTok, because it makes social SEO planning so easy. So TikTok's Creator Center, if anyone, I don't know if anyone's used it on here, but it is great for looking at trending topics, trending hashtags, trending sounds. You can break it down based on country as well. So it doesn't just show you the top trends worldwide. You can also break it down based on the top trends just in the United Kingdom, based on where your client or your business location is. And then it does also show the trend line here as well. So you can see how it's increasing in time or decreasing as well. So you might see one that's decreasing, you might not want to use it as and then it does also show the views and how many posts there are as well. So for instance, if there is one key one that's coming up and it's trending and there are low posts around it, but the views are high, that's a good time to get in with that trend when you can. So TikTok's Creator Center is so good. And the best thing is that it's free as well. So yeah, I've just touched on the Creator Center. So we've done that one. Another one is TikTok's Creator Search Insights. Now, weirdly enough, it's not available for all profiles yet. I have my own Silly Goose account, and then I have another personal TikTok account. I can't use it on my personal TikTok account. It's not available, but it is available on my Silly Goose account. So to get to TikTok Creator Search Insights, all you need to do is in the TikTok search bar, just literally search Creator Search Insights, and it will bring it up as the top result for you. There you can look at suggested keywords. So whereas the TikTok Creator Center is very broad and it's around all of the top trending ones, this one is a little bit more specific to your account. Some of them I find are really, really not relevant to me at all. So I think there is a little bit of work that they need to do to personalize this a bit more, but it is a great tool to look at suggested topics. You can look at your content gaps, so keywords that you're not using that you might want to use because there's potential there, and also searches by your followers. This one is only available for accounts over 1,000 followers, but it's a good way to look at what your followers are searching for. And I can't get over the fact that TikTok give you all this for free as well. Honestly, it's one of the best things they ever brought out. Instagram doesn't do it as well, but you can still use Instagram features such as their own search bar. So for instance, here's a screenshot of two of them that I took from my own Instagram. So when you go to the search bar, it will show you the top trending ones at the moment. So that on this day, it was motivational quotes, Paris Fiore, Jojo Siwa. I can never say her name, but I do know who she is. So you might want to look at those and see which ones they're trending and then use it in your social content. But also you can niche down as well. So I've used a keyword such as social media, and I've looked at related topics that come up. So for instance, social media manager, social media marketing agency, social media versus reality. They're all topics that you might want to integrate into your social content because they are clearly topics that people are searching for. And I'm going to do like a little cheeky plug, but for the past, it feels like 5 years, but it hasn't. For the past few weeks, I've been working on this social media planning template. Now, this is a great way to integrate your keywords that you're using or potential trending keywords and look at the trend graph of them. You can also mark which ones you've used, and you can filter based on month as well. And this also does have a performance tab as well, so you can see how you're performing. And I will move on to how to measure your social SEO in a little bit anyway. But I don't think there's any other template like this about, because social SEO is still pretty new. So this has just gone up on Etsy if anyone is interested. I will leave it in the email with the recording and all of the sources as well. But yeah, that one just might be a little bit helpful. So now we're going to move on to how to use social SEO. And so basically you've planned which keywords you want to use. You've used all of the sources or the tools, that I have discussed. And now you're looking to actually implement it. So we're going to look at how to add it into your social media strategy. Once again, there's that buzzword. So profile optimization is also a big one. So in case you don't know, some people do add keywords into their name because it helps with that search discovery. I don't think I've put the screenshot on here, but it is in my social SEO guide that's on that Etsy listing. God, the words. But yeah, so basically whenever you search a keyword in, you might find that certain profiles come up. So for instance, if you were to search OOT fashion inspiration, I might potentially come up. This is my other creator account, but I might potentially come up. I have not tested theory and it's more of a hobby at the moment. But that's one thing that you can do, is implement those relevant keywords into there. So if you're a coffee shop, for instance, you might put in Coffee House London. So if someone's searching Coffee House London, you might want to come up on that keyword, for instance. But also integrating it into your bio as well is also a key one. So as you can see, I've used size 14 fashion, OOT, and get ready with me, because they're some of the keywords that I have found that people search for. You might want to put it in your bio and in your name. Now, the big thing about this from both a Instagram and a TikTok perspective is that you do not want to keyword stuff, because you still want to make it clear to your audience who you are and what you do. Because if your bio is full of keywords and it does not tell you anything and it does not make sense, then obviously that won't work. So make sure to find even if it's 1, 2, 3 keywords that you really, really want to be shown for. Try and put that in your name or your bio, and don't do any more than that, because you don't want to kind of over optimize, if that makes sense, because like I said, no one will know what you do. Post copy optimization. So a lot of that is kind of self-explanatory. So adding keywords to your copy, which I know that I've touched on throughout this webinar anyway. Alt tagging or alt texting your images. So I know we mentioned that at the start, but any images that you post, make sure to alt text them or alt tag them. Like I said, not only is it good from a social SEO perspective, but from an accessibility perspective as well, it's really helpful for screen readers. And add hashtags as well. So where they are relevant to your post or what you're talking about or your business, add those hashtags as well to also help with that discovery. I know a lot of what we've discussed is very keyword focused, because it is kind of how the platforms are merging. Like I said, LinkedIn have come out and said that a lot of their content ranking is based on what keywords are being used, because they can understand what's being talked about in the post more, rather than filling it full of hashtags. But hashtags do still have a space. If you look at Instagram, for instance, and LinkedIn, people do follow hashtags. So if you were to use hashtags that people follow, then you're more likely to be found in feeds that don't necessarily follow you. LinkedIn articles is another big one. Over the past, I was going to say 6 months, but it's probably a little bit longer than that. LinkedIn articles have started to pop up a lot more in Google search results, more than website blog posts, which is very, very bizarre. But this is a screenshot that I took, and it was a query on Is Social Media Marketing Dead? And the first thing that came up was a LinkedIn article. So if you're not using LinkedIn articles, I would definitely recommend them because they do help support that traditional SEO, so showing up in search engine results pages, but it also helps with your social SEO as well because it can help you get discovered via LinkedIn if you use all of the right keywords as well. LinkedIn do also have a built-in feature on their articles feature, which is based on SEO. So you can kind of look at optimizing it for SEO, and basically LinkedIn have that integrated into their article feature. So I'm just going to break down how to optimize your content. So like I said, I will kind of give you the sources for all of these. But for Facebook, typically use hashtags for specific events like Earth Day, for example, it's World Environment Day today. Put my teeth in. It's World Environment Day today. So that was another one that might want to be used. But Facebook has never typically been optimized for hashtags. So tend to stay away from using hashtags on that platform because it's just not relevant. Like I said, it's more geared towards keywords. And if you're going to use hashtags, only use 1 to 2, but use them very sparingly because, like I said, Facebook isn't kind of filtered around hashtags anyway. It's more keyword based. For LinkedIn, use approximately 3 hashtags. Personally, I don't use any hashtags. I do base it around, for my personal one, I don't even really optimize it, to be honest. I just kind of talk about whatever I want to talk about. But if I'm doing it for a client, for example, I work with a client and they are a decking manufacturer, I will look at relevant keywords that is being used from a website SEO perspective, that's being searched for using Answer the Public and using all of those tools, and I'll integrate that into the post copy. So I don't tend to use hashtags too much, but if you're going to use hashtags, approximately use 3. I wouldn't use many more than that. Place them at the end of the post seems to work quite well. And keywords as well. Like I've said, LinkedIn have come out and said that a lot of the how they push out content is based on keywords. So make sure to put those keywords in, but do not keyword stuff. Only put them in where they're relevant. Instagram is probably, apart from Twitter or now X, is probably one of the OGs for hashtags. I found that using hashtags, I would use less hashtags rather than more. So I'd probably only use about 3 to 5 now. Ensure the hashtags that you use are relevant, and use hashtags that your audience follows as well. It's quite hard to get that data, but if you're scrolling down your feed, you might see a hashtag that says it's followed by whatever user. So that basically says that people are following that hashtag and then it is relevant. For TikTok as well, hashtags do work well on TikTok, but make sure to keep up to date with the trending hashtags. Like I mentioned, use the TikTok Creator Center, also use the Creator Search Insight, and utilize that for trends and trend discovery. TikTok is also based on trending sounds as well, but a lot of it is around quality of content and engaging content. So finally, this is the last little point. I'm just going to touch on how you can measure social SEO and how you can know that all of this good stuff that you've put into your social strategy is working. So by analyzing the performance of your social SEO, you can make actionable steps to leverage what's working, or you can also phase out what's not working as well. So some good tools that are within the platforms are Instagram Post Insights. If you go onto each individual post, you'll be able to see a breakdown of where the impressions are coming from. So for instance, some of them on this one came from the Explore page. Not many, but it still says that your content is being pushed out to newer audiences and that there is some sort of optimization going on there. So there is 2 types of insights. So I've put the real one on the left and the post one on the right. So for the real one, you can also take a look at your watch time and your average watch time as well. So if your average watch time is quite low, it is less likely that that content is going to be pushed out more. Like we discussed at the start, social signals are also based on that watch time, engagement, all of that good stuff. So that just allows you to dig into the analytics and the performance a little bit more. Instagram does also have their profile insights as well. So it can help break down your engagement. So you can see where you're being, what sort of content is being, is your best performing content. So post, reels, stories, which ones are driving the most engagement, and then you might want to capitalize on that. So for this example here, my posts are actually more engaging than my reels. So that will say to me that my audience is actually more interested in the posts than the reels that I'm doing. So I might want to focus a little bit more on my posts rather than reels, but that doesn't mean I don't use reels at all, because obviously, as we know, reels are being pushed out a little bit more as well. So try to diversify that content while you can. Similar to the actual content insights of your content, your reach insights does show you overall where is your content, how your content is performing. So whether that's posts, reels, stories, so that's more based on your reach, whereas the other one is your engagement. And then finally, it gives you an overview of how your content's performing. So how many accounts you've reached, how many you've engaged, and how many total followers you have. The thing with social SEO is that there are very few, if not any, that I know, tools that really break down what is your top performing keywords. So a lot of it is around looking at what your post performance is like, what your page performance is like, and drawing conclusions from that as well. TikTok is a little bit better with the insights because they do show you the top search queries that people typed in to find your content. So for instance, this one I have on the right shows that people searched in study in digital marketing, meta ads, how does the YouTube Shorts algorithm work? So all of those just show the top search queries that people are searching for to land on my content. So you might want to leverage that a little bit more and do a few more around that because you know that it's relevant. And it also does break down your traffic source as well. And the fact that they put search in there is so helpful because then you can draw conclusions of, if it's low, okay, my content isn't really optimized. How do I optimize it a little bit more? Because most of my traffic is coming from For You, which could mean that it is optimized, but not as much for search. Your personal profile, your following, or sound as well. So it does break down those key traffic source analytics. And then on the left, as you can see, it breaks down all of your overall analytics, which just basically shows you how your content is performing. And then, like I did mention, I had created this social SEO tracker, which basically helps you analyze the performance overall. Basically, everything that I talked about here, you can break down and is all automated in this tracker here. So if you're looking to report on social SEO as you go forward, then this might be quite helpful because I do use graphs based on data, etc. And that is basically everything. I think for the first time, I have finished a webinar early. If anyone has any questions, feel free to leave them in the chat box or the Q&A box and I will answer them. And finally, thank you for listening. I really hope this has been helpful. Yeah, if anyone has any questions or anything in the chat box, then let me know now and I will answer them. And if not, I will send across the recording. I will send across the slides, the sources, and also the Etsy listing for that social SEO planner as well. So thank you for listening. I hope you found it helpful and hopefully I'll see you on my next webinar very soon. Bye.